You're listening to Data Center Therapy. Please take a number, and an engineer will be right with you.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Data Center Therapy. I am your host, Matt Yeti, and we like to shake the snow globe of guests, as always. So we're going to bring back a couple of other Ivoxy consultants, and you've heard both of their voices before in varying levels of quality. And hopefully it's the best time yet, actually. So first of all, let me reintroduce Ryan Grelck. Ryan, we last heard you way back like a year ago on episode 3. So how are you today?
Hey, I'm doing great. Went to VMworld a couple weeks ago, but we'll get into that.
Oh, the tease right there.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, it's good to hear your voice. Thank you for joining us. And we are also joined by Mr. Kris Lamet. Kris was like almost a cameo guest on the podcast where he wasn't even part of an official release. This was one of those bonus 10-minute podcasts that him and Mr. Coslino did on NSXT. Kris, how are you today?
Hey, Matt, I'm doing well. How are you doing?
Not bad. Can we call you Bonus Kris? Well, not anymore, I guess, right?
Not anymore.
Now
it's official.
Full release.
Yes, full release.
Full version. Well, as Ryan teased, both of these gents were at VMworld. They did not let me go this year, so they sent people who were way more likely to pay solid attention to what was going on down there. So just before we dive into their experience and some of the things that they saw down there, we do want to give you a little bit of a hint. Stick around throughout the entire episode. At the end of the episode, we're going to talk about some VMworld Redux in-person events starting at the end of this month. We're going to give more information on these at the end of the episode, so be sure to pay attention and listen, and we'll drop information on where those are going to be and how you can register to be invited to them. So, okay, on to VMworld. It's been nearly 2 weeks now since wrapped. I'd say a little over a week and a half now. And so I'll start with you, Ryan, in that, and I might be putting you off into no man's land here, but you are an EUC guy, as we talked before.
Yep.
Are you excited about anything? I saw an awful lot of EUC-focused sessions on the video list at the wrap-up.
Yeah, there's a ton of EUC stuff, lots and lots of Workspace ONE. VMware seems to be pushing really hard for the Workspace ONE, especially the endpoint, on-prem, cloud, it doesn't matter. They just want you to get with it.
Well, it seems like it's more than just virtual desktops at this point. I mean,
Yep.
Workspace ONE is so much. What does that look like? I mean, because I played with Workspace ONE 3 years ago or so, and I had a hard time actually getting the entire product wrapped and demoed because it seemed to be dependent on Identity Manager and this and that, but it also spoke to a much deeper vertical integration into what they want to do.
Yeah, it'll integrate pretty much all throughout your enterprise stack. Deep into AD. It could replace stuff like SCCM. There's potential integration with VMware's recent, soon-to-be purchase, Carbon Black.
That was a big one.
Yeah, pretty big.
So when it comes to, and we'll get into more about things that you want to make note of, but when it comes to VMworld and your experience there, Ryan, would you say you were most excited about EUC stuff, or are we talking about other things that really kind of caught you as the next big thing?
Well, definitely Kubernetes is pushed pretty hard throughout a whole bunch of sessions, and I went to a few Kubernetes sessions. They're going to be integrating Kubernetes into vSphere natively, which is pretty big, I think.
Right.
Bringing the whole DevOps philosophy into most enterprises, whether they want it or not.
Right. And we've had so many discussions on, touching around that topic, and maybe that tone, maybe that's, the half-open eye, that skeptical look. And we'll see. There's hope, but there's also realities that we have to deal with. Cool. Well, Kris, let's bring you into this now. obviously neither one of you gents were down there to let's focus on this, let's focus on that. You all have your areas of expertise, but all in all, we are all at our very base level IT generalists, right?
Absolutely.
We all do compute, we all do storage, a little bit of networking, security, data protection. It's basically the Ivoxy sauce. But what really caught your eye, Kris?
So yeah, I have to echo Ryan's sentiments on this. It was hard not to walk into a session and not hear about Kubernetes and containerization in general, microservices, um, multi-cloud, hybrid cloud, and kind of the evolution that the data center is taking there. So VMware is really separating out that your infrastructure stack that we've always known traditionally, and really pushing towards this converged solution that lends itself to, I guess, both the IT systems administrator and the DevOps or developers that are trying to rapidly push out new systems and services, and it's kind of these things are kind of converging, and now with the Project Pacific and the VMware Tanzu. So Tanzu is this kind of the whole umbrella of all the Kubernetes microservices that are managed by VMware. So some significant.
Kubernetes isn't it it's an orchestrator itself for Docker containers, right?
It is, yeah.
Yep.
So Tanzu is an orchestrator for an orchestrator?
Yeah, so it gets kind of confusing in this space.
No, not at all.
I was actually looking at an infographic that was demonstrating out some the huge vastness that is this containerization space, and your brain starts spinning as you start looking at this. So I think what VMware is doing here is really taking something that your really geeky devs have been working on, and something that your traditional IT systems administrators have been scared of, and bringing those together in a way that actually works, that is consumable for that standard IT systems administrator.
I just pulled up that infographic that you've got linked, and we're going to have linked on the page, the blog post page for this episode. I've got 3 27-inch monitors, and I don't think I've got enough screen real estate to view this chart.
You got to zoom in.
Proper resolution.
Absolutely. It's insane. So I think really that is what the VMware Tanzu thing is all about. It's bringing in that control that didn't exist before, and putting it within a familiar console, and you can run your whatever containerization engine that you've got, and be able to manage that just the same as if it's in your cloud or on your machine or on AWS or Azure, or wherever that lives, you can manage it.
Yeah, it sounds to me like it's not necessarily how to get you to the cloud. It's also, I mean, DevOps certainly is designed in some way with an eye to the cloud, but it doesn't need to be, right? It could be a private cloud, it could be your own. It definitely seems like they're trying to make more robust your own deployment options, even in your own private cloud, not necessarily to a public provider.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. Well, you mentioned Project Pacific. Is it a product, or is it just a push that VMware has internally?
So I think this is a project name, so I don't know that we're going to see that in the final product, but it's essentially the pulling in Kubernetes control into vSphere. So again, from that familiar console to be able to manage everything.
So in terms of product then, and you might not have an answer for this, but it's kind of the question that, at least on my mind, is we're used to a vSphere release cycle with VMworld, and I fall victim to this too, because we're recording this on the 10th, so this morning was the Apple keynote, right? They had every year the new iPhone, and I almost decry the nature of our industry that has to have a major .0 release every 12 months. I mean, I feel like it's unrealistic. I don't like having to upgrade my Mac OS to get these new features every year, and then we reset to a .0, which, theoretically you say, well, it's less bugs, this and that, more secure, but it always feels like you're getting into a new model of a car, and it takes a few months, a few patch releases to get it right, just because of that push to do all this new stuff. So all that's to say, it doesn't seem like this year VMware announced any kind of vSphere platform upgrade. Is that right?
There's nothing earth-shattering that I saw, beyond.
But I guess what I'm asking is, when is all of this supposed to fall in then? Because they didn't announce 7.0 of vSphere, right?
Correct.
So when's all this supposed to be rolled in?
I'm not sure when final release dates are for some of this stuff. So definitely some of this stuff I think is still in project phase.
Yeah, I mean, I know historically they've also, I think what was it? Was it 6.7 that they announced at VMworld, but it didn't come around until November, December, later on that year. So we might not be seeing a lot of the fruits of this until 2020 even. All right, so Ryan, let's go back to you. We talked about Project Pacific, we talked about Tanzu a little bit, and I'm guessing both of those also wrap in with their Pivotal Container Service as well, which is yet another acquisition that they made.
Yep.
Let's talk about things. What about Carbon Black? Do you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I've had a little bit of experience with that. It's kind of like a AI machine learning type solution where you drop these learning appliances onto your network and it'll figure out, what's outside of the norm, and it has fingerprinting and stuff like that so that it can detect malware, for example. I think it's going to be a good fit. I saw some of the integrations that it has with some of the other VMware technologies. They're integrating it deep into NSX apparently, so it'd be pretty cool to see how that turns out.
Yeah, I mean that is not to pull the curtain back from the VMware Redux sessions later this fall, but a lot of what happened at VMworld also was basically due to, or had to do with acquisitions versus internal development or internal features. Carbon Black being one of those. So if I understand right, Carbon Black is basically like a security agent on all machines that then can it's almost like a Palo Alto at the machine level. Is that right?
Yep, exactly.
Okay.
And it's going to be widely deployed. I want to see if they're going to integrate it into Horizon licensing, because that's going to be very, very interesting.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean that's one of the big pushes behind microsegmentation and the drive for NSXT, where you've got, in a traditional environment, you've got your firewall north south, you're good. One of your your virtual desktops gets infected, it can go east west, take the entire VLAN network and beyond.
Yep.
Out, where if you've got that level at the virtual machine and something happens, a 0 day, and somebody adjacent to you on the internet, and then you get the heuristics or whatever they call it there, the secret sauce, to push down, hey, something just happened over here, and you've got a really similar footprint, and to be able to kind of be more proactive with that seems to be the way forward, because you're never going to prevent your employees from 100% never clicking on that attachment or something, or clicking that link, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'll be an interesting.
Well, let's see.
It'll be an interesting one with the API integration and to be able to run, the Carbon Black in an agentless form, just running at a hypervisor level. It'll be pretty powerful. It's going to be nice to see what happens with Carbon Black with.
At first glance, when a lot of these companies started to push the API, at first glance, of course, I am no stranger to hot takes, but my reaction was, great, now I get to pay you for me to write your software for you. And I got it. I'll say it right now, and you better mark this. You better record this. Get your phones out. Put your microphone. I was wrong. I was dead wrong on this. Um, Ryan, I will deny that if you ever repeat that I said that I said.
We have it on recording, Matt. Sorry.
But here's what's cool. Think 20 years ago, if you wanted to work with this product or this software package, and that company didn't have some kind of partnership with you or whatever, your means of interacting with that were basically doing like screen and mouse capture macros and trying to work around actually working through the GUI or whatever interface they present you, or it's impossible, right?
Oh yeah, I don't miss
Now,
those days.
As long as a company has an API, there is a way to interact with them no matter what you're using. So you got two products that both have APIs. They integrate even if either company has never heard of the other one.
Yep.
That's really it's those kind of things where sometimes it takes me a little bit to actually see the magic and see the actual use case before you sell me the tech. Tell me why. Tell me how tell me that scenario where it works. And this is one of those things where something like Carbon Black, big deal. You've got an agent on your workstation, but when you can tie that in with your network security, and it doesn't care what your network is, as long as it can talk to Carbon Black, that gives you a lot of flexibility not to be locked into certain vendors too. You can go best of breed and work with what fits your budget and fits your environment.
Yep. Yeah, and riffing off of that, another thing that I saw at VMworld was essentially infrastructure as a code, essentially writing stuff against those APIs to do whatever you want, and that seems to be a big thing that VMware was pushing this year.
Yeah, well, and like you said, you've got things like NSX where before your network was pretty static and out on its own island, right? It either lets traffic by or it doesn't, especially something like a layer 2 network like a switch, right? It's not all that smart inherently, the technology. But you talk about now a network that is everywhere, is intelligent at every single endpoint, with, negligible overhead, right? We're talking, it's not you're not penalized for leveraging NSX or software-defined networking, more or less. And now another piece of it, as you get more and more abstracted away from the actual operating system, your paradigms are also different. So now they're talking about this NSX service mesh as well. Is that right?
Yep. Kris, you sat on one of those, right?
Yeah, so the NX service mesh is going to be interesting. So really this is kind of shoring up those security gaps and thoughts that the NSX was trying to cover within your full servers, and the NSX service mesh is really looking at how we're linking together each of those microservices and ensuring that we're not handing off data where we don't need to, and it's I guess really complementing the NSXT stack and adding the ability of running secure microservices.
Yeah, it definitely seems like it's not necessarily looking at, or it's not only able to see a virtual machine object, it's actually able to see any kind of container and what that might be running on it as its own object, sub-object of an operating system.
Exactly.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah.
I like that. So, did you guys have a chance to play with the hands-on labs at all?
Yeah. Played a little bit with them.
No, I didn't. I went to as many sessions as I could cram in.
I'm sorry, did you say dinners?
Sessions, no.
Oh, okay. No, I remember. So I've only been to VMworld once, actually. I was there, 7 or 8 years ago, and I was not yet an Ivoxy employee. Actually, I was a customer, and I remember they were pushing their hands-on labs, but it was early days. I don't know exactly how long they had been doing labs for, but I still think it was quite early in their iterations, and they just tipped over. I mean, they were basically unusable. And that was a big story that year at VMworld. And everything I've heard over the last few years is that is no longer an issue. That it's amazing the horsepower and the setup and automation that goes on behind this. I mean, they're basically eating their own dog food, right? I mean,
Oh, yeah.
hands-on labs at an event with 20 to 30,000 people. If you don't have that automated, you're dead in the water.
Yeah, VMware is.
Yeah.
They've definitely brought this conference along to squeeze in. I think over 20,000 people into this conference and to do it as smoothly as they do is just absolutely impressive. Yeah, no, I didn't see any issues with any of the hands-on labs this year. And since VMware does make those available to us at home, it couldn't justify too much time working on those. So as Ryan was saying, spent a lot of time in the actual sessions that I guess now are also available. In general, the experience at VMware this year was really great.
So I am kind of, I don't know if you gents have listened to the episodes prior to this, but it's kind of something I'm holding VMware's feet to the fire a little bit on. Not being too much of a stickler, but right now I just don't feel like their native cloud story is wonderful. In terms of, I've talked about it on previous episodes, but like their VMware on Azure. And I know they're farther ahead with AWS than they are with Azure, and that's not surprising. It seems to be an app's going to come out on iOS before that wasteland Android that you guys like to use so much, but you can't blame it. It makes sense, right? I mean, you write for the you write for the Yankees before you write for the Oakland A's, right? More or less.
Matt, I think you're stepping into some holy wars right now. But I think
at least I didn't say the Mariners, right?
So I think this year they stressed it pretty clear that their vision right now is any device, any application, and any cloud. So they're certainly not showing love in single places and really trying to bring us the users as many options and capabilities as they can within a single platform. So I think it's pretty exciting right now.
Does that cloud story, is it really predicated on their containerization push, would you say?
I think that's a big part of it.
Yeah.
I think the ability to do the whole multi-cloud, not just hybrid cloud where you've got your prem solution and your some containers out there in AWS, but to be able to lean across all the cloud providers and really get that multi-cloud experience, and
sure.
Wrapping that all together again with that NSX service mesh that ties those endpoints all together. It's a compelling story.
If you ask me, I would say, hey Matt, what does VMware do that's exciting you the most right now? And coming from a world where I've been playing with what they currently call vSphere, ESX, the server and vCenter, since oh my goodness, I think I want to say 2.5, a while. And now getting to the point where you can take their hypervisor for granted, right? ESXi, standard bearer, rock solid. And so it's one of those situations where a company is so successful with its core product that they can have trouble expanding out from there competently. I don't think they have that problem. But of all the things, all the cookie jars they have their hands in, my thing, and this is from a guy who's not, I've been a network engineer, but I am not one of our core networking guys. I would not say that I could hang with, our Mac Netkin and the networking team over there. But NSX, I'm waiting for this to break out and be in every single vSphere environment. I don't know about you guys.
Oh yeah, it's a great product.
Yeah, and I know they're just finally they're deprecating NSXV for NSXT, which we will deep dive into in a future episode. But that is one of those growing pains, right, of a new market, a new product platform, in that there's always the risk of being an early adopter, right? Because what can happen with NSXV, where you're kind of, well, there really is no path, you have to migrate over to NSXV. It can be painful, but at the same time, the level of security and automation and provisioning and the true software-defined data center has to have software-defined networking, or it just doesn't make sense. I am looking more and more for every time. I know this was a big container, but what lives under those containers to automate all of that networking is NSX. Mr. Lamet, am I onto something here, or am I just totally out in left field?
Wow, the baseball analogies. Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see. Okay, so let's wrap this up. We try to do that. I've never seen that before, and we've had some episodes we don't do it. I have one. It's not related to anything we talked about today, but so non sequitur all the way. But I was working with a customer. We have a lot of customers out there who have NetApp storage arrays. And I was working with a customer, and they were a few versions behind. They were still running 8.3 cluster mode, but 8.3, and they wanted to go to a supported version, as in that one's not even on support anymore. They wanted to be a little bit more modern, and we settled on 9.5. Per NetApp's upgrade path, you cannot direct go 8.3.9.5. You have to go 9.1, and then you could go 9.2 or 3, I believe.
Yeah,
right. And then it was basically a triple upgrade. We ran into a problem that I've never seen before, where all the pre-checks, the pre-upgrade checks, all good. Nothing failed. We got to 9.1, and we were fine. We went to upgrade to 9.3, and we got a hard failure. Now, anybody who's done NetApp upgrade sees the warnings. Hey, just make sure you check your CIFS, this and that. You can all ultimately say, yeah, we're good. Let's just go from here. This was a hard failure warning. I was not able to progress with the upgrade. And it was an IGMP reference count check. And it said the validation check failed to execute properly. It's a bug in the version. We were at the latest patch version of 9.1. So anybody who's on 9.1 who wants to go to a future version could run into this. We ran into this on both sets of 8040s. And so it is a support call. Now, you could do it yourself. I have the commands. You have to go to diagnostic mode and run some pretty specific commands. I wouldn't tell any of my customers, here, let's just do this. It would be a support call just so it's logged and make sure it's done right. But just ran a couple of commands to basically put a flag that said, force this to pass, ignore this error. So I would never recommend anybody do that without the recommendation of support to say, yeah, you don't have to worry about this. This is a false alarm. But yeah, wasn't able to upgrade to 9.3 and beyond until set that flag. So anybody out there on 9.1, just something to take into account. That's why we usually build a little bit of extra time into our upgrade styles, because things do tend to pop up. But yeah, just something I'd never seen before, and not all that exciting or wowing, but definitely caught me by surprise, because I've done tons of upgrades and just hadn't run into that particular scenario. Yeah. You guys have anything that out in the field that you've seen that just has kind of gobsmacked you?
No, but I will say that NetApp has done a pretty good job of improving that upgrade process. I think version to version, at each point release, it just gets a little bit better. So, we're getting pretty close to the easy button.
Well, as promised, we are now prepared to tell you about the VMware Redux in-person events. Now, if you have any questions about these, remember, or podcasts or topics or whatever, that email is podcast@ivoxy.com. You can always reach out to us if you want to correct us on anything we might have misspoke on, or have any questions or topics you want us to go over. But most importantly to this topic, the VMworld Redux in-person events. So Alec, our own Alec Taylor, he breaks down those 5 days worth of keynotes, sessions, labs, all the news, all the acquisitions. He breaks it down into a half-day session, essentially. We're going to 8 different locations. This roadshow is all over the Northwest. It kicks off September 25th in Bozeman, Montana. From there, on the 30th September, he's going to be in Spokane. October 7th, Bellevue. October 9th in Tigard. Is it Tigard or Tigard?
Tigard.
I guess I should have checked that before, but I'm not originally from here, so that's all right. That's October 9th in Tigard. October 10th is Portland. November 6th is Seattle. November 8th is Tacoma, and November 13th is Olympia. So we got about a 6-week roadshow there across 8 locations. Now, these are invite-only events. You get a nice lunch. You see an awesome 4 hours of content from Alec, who I swear in a past life was a stand-up comedian and not an IT nerd. It's not usually a combo you see out there. But if you know who I'm talking about, if you've seen Alec or talked to Alec or heard Alec, you know what a character he is, and he brings the goods. He's got a remarkable ability to distill down 5 days worth of geek speak into these real digestible in-person events. So email us at podcast@ivoxy.com to learn more about how to get an invite to one of these events. They fill up very fast, and anybody who's listening here, we don't want you to miss it. So podcast@ivoxy.com to hit us up. Kris and Ryan, thank you guys so much for joining me. Do you have anything you want to add?
Yeah, hey, I'm going to be at the Tigard and Portland and Tacoma Redux event, so I'm looking forward to meeting folks out there. So if you heard the podcast, drop by and say hi.
All right. And Ryan, are you going to make it to any of them by any chance?
I don't think I will, but go check out Alec. He's awesome. He's a fantastic speaker. Love listening to him.
He absolutely is. Yeah, for sure. I'm up in the air myself, but hopefully I'll see some of you folks out at probably Bellevue in Seattle, the October 7th and the November 6th. That would be really cool. That's what I'm hoping to hit, and possibly the Spokane one end of the month, but I don't know. Maybe. Anyway, yes, subscribe to us anywhere good podcasts are hosted. Right? You've got iTunes, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, Overcast, even on Spotify now. Find us at ivoxy.com or datacentertherapy.com. Also works. Way to go, marketing. I like it. And again, as always, questions or suggested topics, talk about your next project, anything that you might come across that you find cool, you want to chat about, hit us up at podcast@ivoxy.com. For Kris and Ryan, I am Matt. Thanks again for listening to Data Center Therapy. Have a great day.